Give me the biggest mistake the Niners have made in free agency.
I think that they've actually done a really good job with their signings. So it's not necessarily the players that they've brought in. A little bit iffy on letting go of Armstead just because you're paying him so much. But really, I think the biggest mistake is the restructures. They continue to do this year after year. And Grant, I don't know if you realize this or if anybody realizes this, and it's not right in front of our faces, so we're not worried about it now. Based off the cap projections next year. Now, again, they can go up even more. We saw that this year, but based off the cap projections next year, because they've kicked the can down the road so many times, they're already set to be $10 million, almost $10 million over the cap. That's without Ayuk being extended. That's without Leonard Floyd, his contract still not showing up. That's without this whole rookie class and next year's rookie class. I mean, if that cap projection is even close to right, they could find themselves in a spot where they have to clear $50 million next year just to get even again. And that's not ideal because what you're looking at is trying to transition the team over to some of the younger superstars, Ayuk, Purdy, what have you. And it's really hard to make that transition if you have to figure out how to get rid of $50 million while staying competitive. So even if the cap goes up a big amount like it did this year, you're still probably looking at about 30 to 35 million you have to clear. That's a lot of money. And it's all because of the decisions they've made over the last couple of years to restructure guys that are on the wrong side of 30. I think it's a mistake, and they chose to do it again this year.
That's a great call. I mean, they did it with Armstead last year, and it really cost them this year. And you think, oh, well, they're not going to make that mistake again. A week later, they do it with Hargrave.
And then Kittle. After. Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, they could have restructured or extended someone in his 20s, such as Charvarius Ward. But they went after, right? Like, what? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's strange.
Warner made a lot of sense. Charvarius Ward made a lot of sense. But Hargrave did not. And honestly, in this, we would have griped about it a little bit, but at least he's still in his 20s. Debo is there. I would rather do that with Debo than Hargrave, who's 31. And that one didn't make any sense to me.
It just feels like kind of shady business tactics. Like you restructure these contracts knowing you're creating cap space now to have less in the future. Like that's the trade-off. Mm-hmm. And you're like, get out of jail free card in the future is to just go to the player and ask him to take a pay cut. Like, even though you knew that he was going to be expensive like this, I don't know. It seems strange.
Well, and what you're doing in a lot of these instances when guys have shorter contracts is you're adding void years on. So they may be gone and off the team, but now they've got 3 void years where you're paying them $5-6 million a year to not be on the team. It's like, oh, well, that's always fun to look up, and it's 2028 and you're still paying George Kittle, who hasn't been on the team for 2 years. Why? Oh, because you restructured him in 2024. That's why.
Is that what's going to happen with some of these players? Like there's going to be dead money on the cap years after they're gone?
Absolutely. Unless they get cut like Armstead. The reason that Armstead had so much dead money, it's not that they owed him money. They've already paid him this money. But all those void years that were on the end of his contract for restructuring him the year prior is all goes to the forefront. So they have to pay it up front, and they can either choose to break it up over 2 years or pay it all this year. That's what's actually happening. Those were set to be void years. So even if his contract had ran out, because they had restructured him twice, he had 3 void years that they were going to have to pay around $5.5 million for him not to be on the team 3 consecutive years. So no matter what, you're going to have to pay.
Definitely. Let's get some super chats. Dave Barclay says 2 greats. Let's do this. Jesse, show later.
No, I'm good for the night. I'm set.
Dave Barclay says Bosa, Floyd, Jesse Wright, best since 19. I agree. I actually think that Floyd's better than D Ford. I don't think D Ford was ever really D Ford in the Niners. He had flashes, he had moments, but he was always hurt. It's going to be interesting to see what Floyd can do.
I think on the Niners, I agree with that. I just think, and somebody asked me this question, and that's why I prefaced it that way. Somebody asked me who was better, and I said, well, peak D Ford was the better player, but you only saw that for a glimpse, and because of the injuries, I mean, I'll take the consistency and the health.
I mean, he didn't even start for the Niners. How many snaps do you think he played for the 49ers?
I would imagine less than 350.
That's a really good guess. 378.
Oh, okay. That's not a lot.
378 snaps he played for the Niners in 3 years. Incredible. The D Ford story. Yeah. Anyway.
They tried, man. They tried.
Yeah, that's the D Ford era. They tried, man. They tried. That's what it was.
Just try.
They tried. Dave Barclay, Niners are making different moves this year. Different.
They are.
Jay Garza, seems like most people think the Niners don't need all 10 picks. I disagree. Need all 10 to get younger and refill the depth on O-line, D-line. You guys are great. Thanks, Jay.
Here's a question for you based off of this one. And I know this isn't on the docket, but a lot of people are clamoring to maybe trade the first round pick or your second round pick and go get a player that's in the league that's already good. I kind of tend to agree with Garza, and I think they should make those picks. I think this draft and next year's draft are crucial. We just talked about them being potentially upwards of $50 million over the cap to start the year next year. I mean, that means you need to get young guys to at least be your depth over the next few years while you're trying to figure this out. You don't do that by trading a bunch of picks for an existing player in the league. I think they do need to make most of these picks.
Good call. Jewish guy says I said the same thing when you and Coach reacted live, and you pooped on it. Grant, way to pivot. What are we talking about?
On what?
Dobbs. I don't know.
I don't know.
Dave Barclay says diehard Niner fan and hoping Debo gets traded. He won't. Plumbing God 42 says feels like the Niners are the worst at recycling their roster, extending old players and not giving young guys a chance, wasting draft picks the past 4 years. Drafting Jake Moody seems like a clerical error.
That's the new thing, isn't it?
Clerical errors. That's pretty funny. Jay Garza, Cam Latu, another clerical error in the 3rd round. That's going to be a funny joke for a long time.